Yo boys, real quick, I'm going to be doing my first ever Twitch subathon on my Twitch channel on this Friday, February 21st. I'm going to be doing a 24-hour stream. It's going to be my first one ever. I'm trying to grind all the way to partner on Twitch. So if you guys want to go check it out, go over there and make sure you guys drop a follow. I'm going to be streaming the whole day on Friday. Come and chill. It's going to be a vibe. It's going to be fun. I appreciate y'all. See you there. Yo boys, what's going on? Today we're going to be doing a full 2025 settings guide. This is probably my most requested video over the past couple months. So I'm going to be doing a brief deep dive into my Siege settings and some PC settings that I have on to get you guys a glimpse into what a pro player settings look like. And just for brief introduction as well, this is my current Siege account, champ 66 at the time of recording this video. I have a 1.9 kill death ratio with a 15.1 win loss. So take it from me, my settings do work. Obviously everyone's different, so you're gonna have your own personal preferences, but that's totally fine. But I'm just gonna make sure you guys get a general gist of what settings you wanna have on and what you wanna stay away from. Alright, so jumping into the settings, the first category you're gonna see is the general settings. In general, there are a couple of things here you're gonna wanna look at a little bit more in depth. I'm starting at the display performance metrics. This is just gonna show your PC stats of your computer when you're playing the game, like your frames and your GPU. So if you're looking to kind of get a better understanding of how your PC is doing when playing Siege, I'd recommend turning this on if you're playing with your settings and stuff like that. Other than that, you're not going to need it in the game. I find it for me personally, I kind of know what I'm getting with my PC already, so I just keep it off. Moving on, the next important setting here is actually the stun VFX. Basically what this is just when you have a flashbang thrown at you, you can change your preference from a white glare to a dark glare. I keep it on dark glare for me because when a flashbang's thrown at me, I don't want to have my whole eyes just get absolutely flashing in real life, if that makes sense. So I kind of keep this one on dark. It works for me. A couple of smaller ones that I have for my personal preference, I have my cycle inside camera groups on. That's kind of just allow you to like flip through different sets of cams more quickly. Like for me, if I'm on default cams and I got to swap quickly to a bulletproof or something like that, I have a button on my keyboard that allows me to go from the default cam to the bulletproof. I have my diffuser pickup on manual. You can totally run this on both. I think both is actually probably better. Just for me as a hard breach player, I keep it on manual just in case, because like most of the times when I drop the bomb and then I have to go pick it up, something like that, I just always had it on manual, but that's totally okay to have it on both. Couple last things here in general you're going to want to have on. You're going to want to have your visible throw trajectory on. Obviously that's a new feature as well that allows you to see your grenades and stuff like that. It's going to be like a line on the end of the grenade. We're going to have that on. And then also, this is the most important one in the section probably, is the drone after prep. You're going to 100% want this on manual. So for example, if you have a teammate who has a cut cam and asks you to stun that cut cam, you're going to want to be able to swap to that cut cam without getting automatically taken off drone. So you can sit on someone's cam for them, or someone can sit on your cam for you. So make sure you have this standing on manual. And that's pretty much it for general. And I'll move into HUD. Your HUD is a lot about personal preference. There's not many secret tips or tricks that's going to immediately allow you to get more kills or something like that in your HUD settings. This is just kind of how you view your screen and what's on your screen at the same time. For me, I have everything on default except I have my reminders. I have my icons only on here, so this is kind of like when I have the diffuser, for example, if I'm carrying it, it's not going to be like that annoying white text the whole time. It's just going to be like an icon on my screen. Some people I know have their reload reminders off. I keep it on as a personal preference, but that's just honestly up to you. Continuing scrolling as well, like my reticle, I have everything on in my reticle section. My environment section's on everything as well. In your environment section though, you can change these bottom three. For me, as a personal preference, I keep all three of them on. I know a lot of people that have different combinations of this. You can take the icons off or the username on, for example. I think a good way to do this as well is you can take the username off and keep the icons on if that's what you want to see. But in general, this is all personal preference, like I said. And then scrolling down to my match information, I do have two things off. I think I have a couple things off in here. I have the bands and the score updates off. So the bands is like the battle eye bands at the top right of your screen. I just keep that off because it's really distracting if you're playing a ranked game. And then I also have my score updates off. So this is like the actual points that you see in your ranked games when you like shoot a drone or something like that. Your plus 10 on the side of the screen. I just keep it off because I think it's distracting as well, but you can keep that on, it's totally fine. The last thing I have off here is the versus update. I just have it off personally because I think it's pretty distracting on the top of your screen when it's like a 5v4 or whatever. And then the last thing I have off here in this section is the operator guides at the bottom. Honestly, I think it just shows you like how to play the operator in the game, so I just keep it off. I don't really need that. All right, and moving on to audio. Audio as well is a lot of personal preference. The important thing about audio is your dynamic range. You're going to want to play with this and see what setting works for you. I would say you have to play between hi-fi and night mode. I know some people that play on hi-fi and say it's better than night mode. For me personally, I've always played on night mode since I played Siege, so that's just what's natural to me. I keep my master volume on 100 because my Windows volume is like 70 or 60, something like that. So that's just what worked for me. But you can just play around with this until you find something that's more comfortable for you. I'll just scroll through my audio settings so you guys can kind of see what I have. But to be honest, none of these are super important. It's kind of just all personal preference, like I said. But yeah. Alright, so now moving on to your display settings. This is going to be how you view your game. Alright, so as a pro tip, I would play between 3 aspect ratios. I would play, if you like kind of seeing the game in a stretched resolution, I would play 4:3. There's another good resolution that a lot of people play, which is 1610. 1610 is also really good, but it's just a little bit less stretched. And then a good balance of the two is 3:2. For me personally, I've always played 4:3. It's just what's natural to me. I think I enjoy it better when the game is stretched. But like I was previously saying, this is all personal preference. I would recommend you guys try out all 3 of these until you find something that you like. And then also you can play with your field of view settings within your aspect ratio. So for me, my personal combination is a 4:3 aspect ratio with an 84 field of view. A lot of people know this combination as kind of like the Shiko settings. These personal settings are really good for 1x sites. This is totally personal preference. You can go all the way up to 87 if you want. You can even crank your field of view all the way up to 90. If you play 1610, that's totally normal. I know 1610 90 is a great combo. Some people that I know run 1610 like 83. That's also a classic one. So yeah, just keep playing with it and see which ones work best for you. And then scrolling down to your display area, my numbers are 80 and 91. It's kind of just random. These don't really matter as much. Just change it to whatever you want. And then my brightness is at 65. Alright, so moving into your graphics, this is probably arguably the most important part of your entire settings. I'll try to briefly explain which settings you have off and why, but to be honest, if you guys want to copy what I have on screen right now and just skip through it, that's totally fine as well. I'll scroll down through it really quickly so you guys can see. The only things that I have changed are my LOD quality, which is on ultra, which is the max, and then my shadow quality is on high. All this is just like the detail of how you're going to see the map. You want this on the highest possible setting so you can see the map in a good detail. It's pretty self-explanatory, honestly. Just make sure that's cranked all the way up. You can have this on ultra or high if you can, depending on your PC. The next setting that's super important is your shadow. So shadows are really important in Siege because there are a couple maps where if you're outside the building, you can get an advantage by seeing someone's shadow before they see you. The most default example of this you'll probably ever see is Clubhouse Rafters when you're holding Garage Door. If you're playing in Rafters, you'll be able to see someone Garage Door before you actually see them by seeing their shadow from left to right. For everything else, I would just keep it low. Even if you have a high-end PC, there's no point to have any of these settings on. All they're going to do is hurt your FPS in-game and then make your game not look as good, to be honest. There's no real secret about this. Like, I'm sure a lot of pros run the same things that I do, but yeah, I would stick with this. All right, moving into your controls. So like I was saying earlier, this is pretty much all personal preference as well. At the end of the day, it's kind of just like what you want to play with. I'll go through all my numbers and stuff like that, and if you guys want to use them, you can. But my advice is really just to find your own unique sensitivity. Alright, so quickly, my raw input is on off. I've been playing with it off for a while now, and honestly it just feels more natural to me. I used to play with it on all the time, but to be honest, I actually don't really know what this does. For me, it's kind of based on feel, but yeah, I would just play with it. If you notice something when it's off, try turning it on. If you notice something weird about your sense when it's on, just turn it off. My hipfire sensitivity is 1212. I play on 400 DPI, so that's relatively normal for slow sensitivity as far as hipfire goes. Now for me, my ADS sense is really slow. This is kind of just something that's natural to me when I first swapped to a PC and started playing with a mouse. I don't really know how to explain it, but like I always felt when I was playing with my sense super high that I would just miss shots and I was like too jittery and stuff like that. So inevitably I just turned it down until I found something really comfortable for me. And I never really turned it back up. And I honestly think my sense is so slow that it can hinder me in some aspects. But for me, it's just what I'm comfortable with. I don't really see a point in changing it if it's something that I'm so used to. So my 1x sense is 20. My 2.5x is 40, and then my 3.5 and everything is 50. I don't use any of these scopes, to be honest, so I never really change these guys, but these are the two main ones you're going to want to look at. You can totally change these way higher. I'd honestly recommend something way higher than mine, but for me, like I said, my numbers are 20 and 40, and that's just what's comfortable to me, so yeah. Finding your ADS sensitivity is no easy secret. There's not going to be an easy explanation about how to find your magic sensitivity. You honestly just got to go into ranked games, go into the training grounds, and just play different senses. See if any of them come natural to you. As soon as you find something that's like natural to you, I'd recommend just play through it and try to get as good as you can on that specific sense. It's kind of like what I did when I first switched to PC. I just played until I found like these random numbers. I didn't copy any pro player senses. I'd recommend just play the game, mess around with your sense, and find something that works best for you. I have my mouse scroll disabled because I don't want to have to swap between my guns. If I'm accidentally swapping my mouse wheel or something like that, I just keep it off. My gadget and drone deployment is on advanced. Make sure you guys turn it on advanced. These down here are a little bit more personal preference. You can have your aim on toggle. I know players that have their aim on toggle as well. I keep it on hold. It's what's normal to me, but you can play it on toggle as well. It's not the end of the world. My lean is toggle, sprint is hold, crouch toggle, prone toggle, and walk is hold. These are just my controls that I'm used to. You can kind of interchange these and go toggle or hold. It's all personal preference at the end of the day. Going through my binds really quick. I'll just scroll through these. My binds are really simple. They're not anything complex, anything like that. I'll just scroll through them. You guys can copy them if you want to, but yeah, these are my binds. And then yeah, that's the last thing I have here in controls. All this stuff at the bottom is just like my controller setup, but I don't really ever play controllers. So all right, then moving to the last part of the R6 settings is the accessibility. I have my optic color as light green and my optic opacity is 90. I've played on these settings ever since they introduced the scope color changes back in like year 5, to be honest. So I just changed these back then. I never changed them since. This is what's just normal to me. You guys can totally like run any color. I know a lot of people run like turquoise, green is pretty common. Some people run even purple. Red's also good as default, but just do what you want to play with. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Make sure you guys have your screen shake intensity off. Obviously you want this off. You do not want to have your screen be shaking when a nade or something like that gets thrown at you. Your eyes just go crazy. I have my motion blur on, and like I already said, my stun VFX is on dark glare. I have my team color as blue and my opposing team color as red. I know a lot of people have these interchanged actually, so you can have your team color as red and have the opponents as blue. The reason for this is something like claymores and stuff like that. The lines are actually more visible, I feel like, if they're blue on certain maps, but on some maps it's kind of vice versa. Like I feel like on Nighthaven, the kind of color theme is a more blue vibe, so blue claymores are a little bit more harder to see, but it kind of just depends honestly to map. But just do what you want. The colors aren't super important, but just play with them if you want to play with them. And then lastly, my chat skills at 100 and everything else is pretty much normal. All right, next up, I'm in Razer Synapse right now. This is what I use for my mouse and my keyboard. So this is kind of my software for everything that I need in here. I'll quickly go through my mouse settings real quick so you guys can see. This is just a Razer Viper V3 Pro. I have my performance here. My DPI is on 400. My polling rate is 4,000. This is a little bit interchangeable. If you have a mouse which is accessible to have a higher polling rate, I'd recommend maybe turning it up a little bit. 8,000 is kind of excessive. You can kind of do like 4,000, 2,000, even 1,000 is good. It doesn't really matter too much. Everything else about my mouse settings is pretty much default. I haven't changed any of these settings over here, stuff like that. And then quickly moving into my keyboard, this is the Huntsman V3. So quickly in my actuation points, you can see I have my snap tap enabled. This is personal preference. You don't have to have this on. If your keyboard does not have this setting, it's totally fine. It's not the end of the world. For my actuation points, it's kind of different from key to key. If you kind of can scroll through, I think its default is 0.8 on like all these random keys and stuff like that. But you'll notice on a couple of them, I have like on my crouch or my melee, for example, I have it on 3.5 and my spacebar as well. That's because in game, this is my melee key, which is V, and then spacebar is my jump. So if I ever like slightly fat finger, like graze these keys, I don't want to have to be like randomly vaulting or randomly mailing the air, if that makes sense. So I have these on pretty high actuation points. And then I also have my WASD and my lean keys on 0.4. So that means I'm going to be using these the most. So I have them on the least actuation points, if that makes sense. And then I also have my WASD keys enabled on rapid trigger. That's also personal preference. Like I said, most keyboards do not have the software enabled. If your keyboard does have this, you can copy my settings if you want. If it doesn't, that's no big deal. All right, next section really quick is the game settings finder folder. When I go into your main folder, just go down to your documents, find your games, Rainbow Six Siege, and then find the folder, which is your account that you play on. Open that up, and then pretty much your game settings, when you click it, is this one right here. So in here, you can change your mouse multiplier unit if you scroll down and find this setting. This is the default number, it's 0.02. This is what I have it on. You can change it to a different number. There's actually a Kickstarter setting, which I know a lot of you guys will play on and aware about. If you want to go and plug that number in, just make sure you look it up and find it in. I actually don't know what it is off the top of my head exactly. I think it's like 0.001, something like that. But yeah, that's also interchangeable if you want to have a more complete mouse sense. All right, next I'm in my Nvidia control panel now, and these are the settings that you're going to want to have for your monitor. So for my numbers, I have my brightness at 55, and I have my contrast at 55, and my digital vibrance is also at 60. I just accidentally changed this to 60. But yeah, these are the numbers that I run. You can totally change these and play around with the settings. I'd recommend just play around with it, but yeah, I would definitely increase either the brightness, contrast, or digital vibrance. All right, and the last Windows setting we're going to be looking at is the default mouse settings in your settings tab. So I'm currently on Windows 11. If you're on Windows 10, it's something similar to this, but I'll try to guide you through it. Windows 11, it's called additional mouse settings here. I think you'll be able to find the same kind of thing on Windows 10. Just kind of look for it. If you have to Google it, just Google it. You're going to open this tab up. It's going to bring up your mouse properties menu right here. You're going to want to go to the third section, which is the pointer options. You're going to want to make sure this box is not checked. If this box is checked, please uncheck it. This basically makes it so your mouse movement is at a constant rate and it's not slightly getting faster, if that makes sense. So make sure that box is off. And alright boys, that was the settings video for 2025. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know you guys have been spamming for this one, so make sure you guys leave a like if you guys are interested, and make sure you guys also check out the subathon, which is going to be live on Friday, February 21st. We're going to do a 24-hour subathon. Make sure you guys come over there and check it out, and make sure you guys follow the Twitch as well. We're going to grind it to partner over there. Appreciate y'all. Much love. Peace.